Hi. So, I have a versus idea out there that what if the Winter Soldier were to face off against Snake from the Phantom Pain? I think that would be a very interesting fight due to the reason that both have a robotic arm. Both can shoot their arm. In the comics, Winter Soldier can actually rocket launch shoot his arm. And then later on in the movies, he has a titanium steel Soviet Union arm. And then later on, he has a vibranium Wakanda arm. Both of them, in general, are very interesting. Both of them have past war or spy tactics, and they're from a different time era. Somehow, Bucky didn't really age during all that time. Or if he did, he didn't show it very well. And then there's Snake. In the in his years of being Snake. But more importantly, this and this alone. Think about it. They both have the skills of spies. They both have the skills as soldiers. And they also have the skills to understand allies and basically take care of their objectives. Another thing that they have in common is they work for someone. They have an organization of some sort. And their history is not exactly white picket fence. No. Their history is very dark. It goes out with saying they killed a lot of people. The sides are a little bit different though. Bucky used to work for Hydra, brainwashed Hydra. As for Snake, he's always worked for his organization, and the only thing that's changed is the base. It was destroyed in Ground Zero, and then was brought back in the Phantom Pain. A brand new base was established, a brand new murder base. Each has gone through a tremendous amount of ordeals that, very simply put, I think this would be a very good versus because they're very similar. They look alike, they act alike, they spy alike. Sure, the Winter Soldier doesn't have gadgets, but the way he's built, it is in his nature. He's a soldier, not a spy. He has spy-like capabilities, though. Also, just like Snake, he's had his targets over the years for elimination, henceforth assassination, or just straight up just combat and, getting rid of threats that could overthrow his plans. Both of their plans. Now, both of their pasts are not exactly good. Both of their pasts are very shady. Both of their pasts are very, very much different than anyone else's. There's a lot of good things, but there's also a lot of bad things that have happened to them over the years. Now, the Winter Soldier has endeavored a lot of things, but also so has, Snake. He took on several, if not, you know, different Metal Gears, giant robots, basically. Heck, he even piloted or operated one once. Now, the thing that I think is interesting about both of them is that both of them are very much spy soldier material. They both have shady pasts. They both have done some things that are not exactly kind of questionable. But on the bright side of all this, they have also done a lot of good things. And now the things that I have to say that I think would be very interesting if they actually got into the fight. I gotta give it to both. I think it would be. I think it would be very much a tie. I would have to say very much a tie. I don't think it would be a fight to the death. I think it'd be more of a misunderstanding fight. I think it'd be more like, who are you? I don't care who you are. Get out of my way. Ah! And then they go into their fight. I think both of them would be, um, I think very much both of them would be very interesting. But I don't think it would be to the death. Because I don't think they would kill each other. I think it would be more like after they're done fighting, run out of ammo, their punches tied, they're exhausted, they're tired. I think it'd be more like one of those things of, you got a bodyguard? I got one of those too. Actually, I think we punched each other with our arms. That was cool. Yeah. But I don't think it would be to the death. I think I think it would take a long time for this fight to end because Snake and the Winter Soldier, they can go for a tremendous amount of pain. For Pete's sakes, they're Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, he was tortured for weeks, and Snake survived an explosion that should have killed him. On top of everything else, both of them have years out in the field work. Both of them have years working and operating with different weapons. Both of them have years of knowing how to fully use, operate different vehicles. Several of them have, I think, uh, I think that the fight would be interesting, but I don't think, like I said before, it'd be to the death. I think it'd be more of a misunderstanding fight. Now, additionally, I like both of them, but when it comes to a fight, I have to pick a side because there has to be ultimate way a winner. Problem is, I don't think there would be. I think it'd be very close, but I don't think it'd be. I think Snake would attempt to try to talk because Bucky doesn't really talk. He's more of action than diplomacy, and neither is Snake. I would have to say that both of them, after the fight, would have a very long discussion. Both of them have a very long past of a lot of things that could have gone well, went wrong. Um, and I think both of their past would be. I'm surprised they haven't like had a crossover comic book, or I'm surprised that they haven't had a short, short 4 to 6 comic book series crossover. Um, First one would be getting to know each other. Second one would be going into a miniature fight. The third one is comparing and talking about each other's past and some of their fights they've had leading up to this moment. I think the fourth and fifth one would be them fighting a long fight of two comic books between their main villain. So the best that Hydra would come up with would be a giant, robot, you know, killing machine that Bucky would switch places and take on the Metal Gear. Additionally, in general, I think that this fight would be interesting because of the reason their pasts are very similar. Different, very similar in the direction they took. They went from soldiers from an older era going into more of a modern age. The problem is, the best that Snake went into was the late 80s. And Bucky Barnes is more of the earlier, you know, 2000s. So I think there would be a bit of a generation gap. But they're both from older years. At the same time, I think there would be very interesting for them to watch and proceed and see how it would go. I also believe that this fight would be not because they hate each other. It'd be more like who are you? You're in my way, or they're both after. Um, they're both different, very similar eras, but at the same time, they have a lot in common. They've both been around the block more than once. They both have um, past fights that were stealthy and that were combat situation, and occasionally both. Like it was stealthy at first, but then things got crazy, and they had to fight or shoot their way out of a situation. Both have endeavored a tremendous amount of pain. Both have gone through a lot of fights that they didn't really think they were going to survive. Some of those fights, like they will actually admit, how did I survive that? I have no idea. There's a lot of other things that happen during these fights that we all of us would have to come into consideration. I've seen and I know Bucky Barnes can dislocate his own arm and shoot it out. The problem is, I don't know if he can control it. Versus the Phantom Menace Pain Snake, or the Phantom Snake, I think that it would be come down to who can do more. And the thing is, I think it'd be very, very close. But to me, I would have to give it, I hate to say it, I would have to give the edge to stealth. I have to give it to Snake. When it comes to combat, it's a tie. It's very much a tie. When it comes to robotic, symbiotic, or robot, I would have to give it to. I gotta give it to Bucky Barnes for his arm. It may not have as many capabilities, but it definitely would become very, very close for the reason alone that I would have to give it. It had to be all timing. Now, if Bucky Barnes, when the Winter Soldier finds Snake first, Snake's gonna be in a lot of trouble because the old sneaking around with a box trick is not going to work for Bucky. He's going to actually attack the box, not even open it, not even. He's going to figure out, where he's always going to. The thing is about Bucky, he doesn't have a sixth sense like Spider-Man's, Spidey sense, but he does have this ability to sense and know that he can tell something's not right. He can tell that something in this room is different than it was before. he would be able to tell if Snake was still in the room or not. With the different suits that Snake has, he does have a stealth suit. Problem is, it's limited, doesn't last one, it's very short timed, and Bucky, I still think Bucky would be able to find him. For Pete's sakes, even if it was programmed or told, he still was able to discover or figure out, wait a minute, Colonel Nick Fury went underneath his car. He escaped his car exploding. He figures out right there and then that he had to escape. And additionally, he's escaped many, if not several times. So for him to know the ins and outs of buildings, how to get in, how to get out, both of them have experience in, opening and closing locked doors, pick walking, essentially, vents, the whole 9 yards. But what would make this even closer of a fight is they both have lost people. They both. This fight would hit them home. This fight. I don't really think, like I said before, it'd be a fight to the death. It'd be like what a misunderstanding fight, which usually means that they're going to hurt each other a lot, but they're not going to kill each other. Additionally, I think that this fight would be intense, very interesting, and afterwards, I think they would be great friends, to be honest. But more like a see you around friend, like the one you just say goodbye to, the friend that you say hi, how are you doing, bye, kind of thing. I don't think they would be good friends. I just think they would be good allies. Well, that's pretty much what I believe my verses would be. But it did, just to sum this up, the Winter Soldier versus Phantom Pain Snake, I think would be in very, if not tremendously interesting. But again, like I said, I don't think it'd be necessary to the death. I think it'd be very close, but not necessarily to the death. I additionally have a very small idea for verses as well, as small verses bonus as well. Governor Price from Star Wars Rebels versus the evil Ukraine lady from the Crystal Skull. One, they both look alike. Two, they're ambitious. Three, they both have combat fighting. Both of them know how to use a gun, and both of them know how to use some sort of melee weapon. Governor Price only uses some sort of deflector in one or two episodes, and in the comics once. But both of them are very knowledgeable of vehicles that they use. Both of them would be very knowledgeable of, melee and faraway tactics. Also, I think that this would be kind of like a confusion fight. Are you my twin? Because if you look at Governor Price and the villain from the Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, if you look at the Crystal Skull villain and Governor Price from Star Wars Rebels, and in the comic books as well of both, they look either exactly the same or very, very much, very similar to each other. Well, That's pretty much all that I can think of for a versus idea today. Bye.